The statute of limitations sets the deadline for starting a legal prosecution after a crime is committed. Some cable entertainment channels claim Donald Trump's felony charges in New York were filed beyond the statute of limitations. What they didn't mention? During emergencies like the COVID-19 pandemic, the law allows the clock to be tolled or paused, extending the prosecution deadline. And Governor Andrew Cuomo did just that to slow the spread of COVID-19. On March 20, 2020, through Executive Order Number 202.8, he ordered a tolling period that lasted until May 6, 2021, effectively pausing legal time limits for 1 year and 47 days. I'm sure it just slipped their minds.
We all need to understand why Alvin Bragg indicted Donald Trump on these charges that clearly have statute of limitations issues.
Did you somehow sleep through the pandemic? It was a whole thing. Courts and government offices shut down on March 22, 2020 for what is called a tolling period. And wouldn't you know it, things didn't fully pick back up until March 2023, just in time for Trump's indictment. Pure coincidence, I'm sure.
I mean, this could happen to anybody, but in this instance, there's not another human being on the planet that would have been indicted on these charges other than Donald Trump.
You really need to get your facts straight before you go on TV shows, proclaiming New York never prosecutes white-collar crime. In fact, only a few months before Trump was indicted, Alan Weisselberg, the Trump Organization's loyal CFO, pleaded guilty to identical charges of submitting falsified records to cover up a crime. The plot twist? That investigation just so happened to dig up the receipts that landed Trump in hot water. Irony called, it's alive and kicking.
The only crime that's been discussed for months is this thing I call a bootstrap crime, which is this misdemeanor that essentially Brad's trying to zap back into life because this thing expired with a 2-year statute of limitations.
Actually, the COVID tolling applied to everyone in New York, not just Trump.
So the theory is that you can sort of make it live again by turning it into a felony and connecting it to a federal crime.
When you can't win the argument, just blame the rule book and call it rigged.
But that federal crime, the election violation, first of all, it does not appear to be an actual violation, but it's also a charge that the Department of Justice declined to bring and Brad's own predecessor declined to bring.
If by declined, you mean there's only so many Trump-related fraud cases 500 assistant DAs can juggle at a given time, then yeah, they totally declined to prosecute that particular crime. Multitasking has its limits.
Hard to know. I don't think there's any necessary legal connection in terms of the timing of decision making when it comes to New York versus Mar-a-Lago, J6, or Georgia. We'll be ready to fight them back.
Quick reality check. The tolling period wasn't some secret get Trump scheme. It applied to everyone. Criminal cases, civil cases, your neighbor's parking ticket. But sure, let's pretend it was all about him.
Because I think there's a commonality, which is a political overtone and political decisions made by everyone from the Attorney General to the New York DA to perhaps the Georgia DA.
2017, alleged crime committed. 2020 to 2023, statutes paused due to tolling. 2023, indictment filed within the extended deadline. The math adds up. Sorry to disappoint conspiracy fans.
What do you think? Was this just another example of good old due process, or are people allergic to basic timelines?
The real story?
But in this case, the jury was as biased as the judge and the prosecutor. The vast majority of them obviously voted against Trump and don't want to see him be president. And they rendered a verdict that was more consistent with their political views than either with the law or with the facts. Yeah, the jury got it completely wrong.
Correction, this is the biggest overreaction in history.